Hello, this is Pixie doing another video, and today I'm going to talk about some stuff that is quite a sensitive area for a lot of people actually, dealing with dead people. So I had recently, because I do, like I say, I'm in the care sector, and I deal with a whole range of different types of clients, and so I had a lunchtime call to visit a chap, and basically it was brown bread, but it was a bit more difficult than that. When I first went in, he wasn't breathing, and if you've ever had a pet put down, which you might have not have, but that was probably my first experience of that kind of death scenario, is I looked at the body and I could see that the body wasn't animated anymore, and the face was kind of, you know, frozen and everything else, and the rigor mortis is set in. And this was a cat in the past. This was when I was a young lad, and what I had there in this scenario though is I come into where the client was asleep or would be resting. He wasn't well, and the signs were there. There's classical signs like sleeping a lot, appetite reduced, mobility reduced, things like that. Maybe some cognitive dysfunction at some level, like might call you by a different name, or get more confused, more brain fog and so on. So it's the body shutting down, and there's other things as well, like less bowel movements and less urine passed, even though the person may be drinking quite well. They may think they're not drinking enough fluids, but actually they are. So these things are the things to look out for. I mean, don't assume obviously if a few of these little things turn up, like they're passing less urine, that suddenly that means they're going to be dying soon. It just means maybe possibly something internal changes. And so yeah, so it was a bit of an experience. Because say I walked in, the guy was there with his mouth open. That would be a surprise, because that's quite normal. You know, he might be snoring or whatever, but there was no sound from him. And there was also bubbles in his mouth, and that'd be from saliva, or it's just a mixture of saliva. It could be from his lung. I don't know what bubbled up, and also bubbles can sometimes indicate bacteria. And so anyway, so I sort of went in the room. I thought it looked odd. I raised my voice to see if he'd wake up. He's hard of hearing anyway, and nothing stirred. So I checked. So I put the back of my hand on his foot, basically his foot was sticking out, and I could get an idea of the body temperature. I thought it's quite cold. It's quite cool anyway. So I've got to be careful how I say this, because just in case, like one of the family come across this and they think, you know, it might sound like I'm talking in a cold manner. It's not that. It's just the way the care industry works as well. So, but you're never separate from the human feelings you have as well, or your emotions. So yeah, so I checked that was cooling down, but it wasn't entirely cold. And then I was sort of looking for. Then I checked the back of my palm on his forehead, and I could feel that areas of his head were colder, but where the pineal was, or between his brows, it seemed a lot warmer. And that could also be when we die, is that certain parts of your brain are active before, you know, basically before you completely shut down. So it's almost like it's opening a gateway, basically. So his spirit drifts off there, or I mean, if you had a sort of atheist beliefs, it could be that the body has a mechanism to prepare for death. But however, you'd have to die and live again in order to have that mechanism. Because how would your DNA learn that? And you know, it definitely couldn't be random, because you wouldn't have any need for it. I mean, only a small population would have that control mechanism. So possibly a lot of DMT was released as a connection with the pineal. So he was certainly out of pain, and then he probably drifted off into a lovely dream, and then from there he went into wherever, so another dimension, whatever you believe beyond that. Especially if the consciousness exists beyond the physical realm, that's definitely. And so I did my basic checks, and I went up to his. I want to check his pulse, look at his fingernails. I was going to press on his fingernails to see if any blood would come to and flow, any blood flow, but I could see they were turning blue underneath his fingernails. And but his hand was still. There wasn't any rigor mortis in him. So he'd possibly passed away maybe an hour before it turned up, and that's why he wasn't sort of fully gone then at that point. And so I checked for his pulse, and I tapped his eyelids because his eyes were closed. You know, you'd have a response from the eye, and there was a possibility he could be in some form of coma due to his medical conditions he suffered from. And so I sort of held his hand and said, look, if you can hear me, you know, squeeze my hand, see if he could do any movement or twitch or whatever. So that would give me a sign of something. There was nothing, so I just went on to doing the CPR. Now, if you've done lots of first aid in the past, there was stuff like mouth to mouth. That's all gone now. Turns out you have about a hour's worth of oxygen in your blood, so basically you just need to create the pump action, so just do the compressions. And so I did 30, then I checked for any sort of activity, any change in him, because I didn't want to sort of injure him if he was still in there, sort of thing. And then I did another 60 because I thought, well, I better get his energy up, or at least put enough energy, because if I need to phone, I'm going to phone through to the office. I don't want to sort of, start something and then leave it. I just want to make sure he's got enough. I've increased the sort of blood flow, and then I called my office and sort of passed it on to the management and asked for the paramedic assistance, and also what I believe is possibly true. And also, because I'm not a doctor, I stated all the evidence, basically, like, blue fingernails, no pulse, can't find one anyway. I was under the impression I could feel a little weak one, but I thought that could be possibly my pulse. And I was just using my fingers. You obviously don't use your thumb, because I think that's where the pulse is mainly felt. But my fingers, it felt like the blood was going to them as well, and or pulsing in it some way. And then basically, but the only thing is, when I hit the 60, one of his ribs broke, and that wasn't very nice. That's very unpleasant. And I was thinking to myself, it's probably like if I hit him 60 times, basically. When even if it was just jabs, if you jab someone 60 times, you bust their rib. And then I just carried on for a bit. The paramedics called. They told me to carry on. They told me to open the front door. The emergency service is called, and then I secured one of the pets they had in the property, and that was basically so they wouldn't get in the way. It's a very lovable animal, and I didn't want it to get caught up in the situation, especially if I tried to jump on the client, basically, or became distressed, so eventually they turned up. My compressions were going to be slower. There's like 1 in 3, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's almost like a dance, because he's an older gent. That's what they told me. So yeah, and the other thing I did as well is when I said, "Are you in there?" and I thought about it, and I sort of put my hand above his heart as well, see if they could feel any sort of like energy or something, a bit like Reiki, just putting some energy into him, probably some chi, and he said basically, I heard in my mind, "It's all right, mate. I've gone now." So it's kind of like, like, "Cheers, mate. Thanks for trying," sort of thing. Or maybe it was just felt like he's happier. So that kind of went into my mind, and I accept that as, I don't have to project things to cope with my anxieties, or it's a coping mechanism and other things. It's quite hard. Sometimes it's all in the middle. It's all that grey area of what you're feeling and sensing. I would like to think that his spirit was still around his body because he hasn't fully gone. And then there was that kind of, like I say, heat in the forehead, but it's cold around the outside of his head. So like his gland and sort of that area is sort of kicked in, and brain released a load of DMT and stuff like that. He's opened that spiritual domain, basically, that portal. So yeah, that's quite emotional. And the thing is, how do you cope? You don't really. The problem is with a bloke, you'll get asked lots of questions like, how do you feel? And it's not a criticism of sort of females. Females tend to do that quite a bit because they like to talk about it and get their problems out. But when men would like to process the trauma of it to some degree, they just need to figure out what's going on and sort of come to grips with it. And also there's lots of visual feedback. You like what you saw, it plays back in your mind, and so you don't really heal in the same way from it. I think you kind of learn. It's like an experience whereby you've gone through an endurance, so your bodies and your brain start to figure out how to deal with that, and I think that's kind of important. So, you know, if anyone feels a bit raw from a sort of situation where they've cared for someone and they pass away, or could it be a loved one or whatever, that's quite normal, and you may not get away with sort of be able to just deal with it straight away anyway. It's a bit like having a broken heart. It's just dealing with that over time and accepting it's a part of life. That's it, you know. And I think there's other like reptilian type qualities in me. It said you don't cry over your dinner, do you? When you're eating meat all the time. So there was kind of a coldness there, but that was that's like get up and get going. It's like kicking my ass, basically. Part of my mind, because you're not really in a kind of a reptilian type thing. You're not supposed to just give in to weakness. You can acknowledge it, but then you're supposed to get stronger from it. So that's sort of the what they call like a bit of a test for that kind of spiritual thinking anyway. So that might be a bit out there if someone just comes across this video for other reasons. And I did look up things on Google, like people saying, how do you know, can you cope with it? And I think you can. It's just, I mean, obviously I did. I was fine, but there's a lot of rigmarole, a lot of paperwork and other things as well. And I mean, if I chose not to do CPR because I just like creeped out, or I think you'd feel a lot worse because there was a chance there. And the other thing the paramedics said is that, you know, we could try to bring him back, but we're not too sure how much of him would come back if that's the problem. Like he might be severely brain damaged or in a vegetative state, and that might be not what the family would like to see either, because they'd like to know him for who he was. And like I say, he was prepared to pass, and that was what happened. Sometimes when the system fails, you've got a kind of reset button, or you can get out of it basically, and that's sometimes what people choose as their path. So anything else going on in my life? Let's move into a nicer bit of area. So yeah, I'm still doing my fasting. I'm still eating once every 24 hours, and yeah, I feel fine. I'm not having any problems. I'm eating raw mushrooms sometimes as well. It's going to be very good for your basically the mycology and your gut bacteria, and the fact that it's a bit more complicated than simply just a mushroom. They tend to have a symbiosis with life forms. I've got my cactus stroke peyote, not peyote, it's a San Pedro. So someone said it was a cat room or something like that, and it seems to be fine. It doesn't. There's no signs the mushrooms just died. It's probably in some sort of recovery mode, but I think it's also regenerating. It's using some of the cactus, so there is a relationship forming now. I just have to let them get on with it. It might take a while, but then if the cactus is happy and the mushroom's happy, I've made some sort of a hybrid sort of connection, or just spliced them basically. Whether they actually produce something else together, and with mycelium type spores and these different connections, it's not always above ground, it's what's happening underground as well. Somebody said there's the biggest life form on the planet is a mushroom, and it stretches miles, but it's underground, so it's probably like a big network of these kind of like a nervous system to it, really. It's these kind of spores and how it connects to the neural network. So yeah, and so equally in your body, things can go into your body, maybe floating around your bloodstream that live in you and that you're not even aware of. So yeah, so I'm maintaining this thing at the moment. I'll probably do some sort of more ketosis stuff, whereby I sort of eat eggs or take things that got fats in, but just avoid some sugars. I mean, sugar's not bad. It's just not. You just want to balance it out. So your body's trying to burn its own calories, basically. That's the idea. And I've got some extra calories to burn, so it's not a problem. But obviously, if you're skinnier, then you would have a different pattern of what you want to deal with that. I mean, you may sample some ketosis, but then you may want to go back and sort of have a lot of sugars. Depends how you burn them and process them. So everyone's quite individual with regards to your diet and what you put into yourself. I've also sometimes swigged a little bit of cider vinegar, and that's just like a gut cleansing. The other bridge may be taking Ormus. If you're taking like Ormus and you've got high magnesium, potassium, sulfur, taking strong sort of minerals, because what happens is your mitochondrial DNA is supposedly meant to get more fired up when you're in a different mode. So when you're in a mode of not eating, your body does other things, and it starts regenerating its cells. And then the mitochondria have got something where they've got a fused state and a sort of fission and fusion state, as they call it. So it separates itself out, and this is probably where it regenerates. So giving it a boost, or we're giving it a cleanse, nothing interferes with it, and then giving it a boost of some kind of energy is going to be could be the way to be immortal. Unlocking the keys there, keys to being able to regenerate. I mean, I feel better in myself, and I just suggest you find your own way of fasting. It's not a bad thing, but it will take you. You need to work up to it. It's a bit like holding your breath. You wouldn't just jump in and out of water and just hold your breath, would you? Because it would basically the panic would set and you'd fighting for air and all sorts. But once you understand it, then you kind of relax and you're not going to be freaking out over it. And then you can start setting your goals and targets, and then you've got to set out your sort of safety measures. I'm just eyeballing up the parking spaces around here. So yeah, anyway, I think that's probably it really on this occasion. I think it's good to talk about the CPR, and if you do have any questions about it, then you can write to me, I don't mind. I mean, some people will go to sort of tears or break down. I imagine the hardest thing would be dealing with your parents, actually. Finding your mum or dad passed away is probably the hardest one. Or your child would be pretty kind of traumatic. I would say it's horrific. It generates trauma, and that's why it takes a while to sort of fix in your brain or process how do we deal with this trauma if we come out across it again. Anyway, this is Pixie sign off. Have a great one and speak to you soon.